So, today we'll be talking about all of the different equipment that us HND students can use. I'm joined with my friend
Jake, and yeah, we're just going to be going through all the equipment, most of the equipment that are available to us and that we can use for our final promotional video for this unit. And yeah, our final video is going to be us promoting an Xbox. We want to have loads of cinematic shots in this room, put the Xbox on the table, and yeah, maybe have an interview saying why the Xbox is so good as well in that promo. And yeah, we're just going to be talking you through all of our options. So moving into the camera settings and some of the cameras available to us. So we're going to be filming on a Canon 800D. And it's got a zoom lens on it at the moment. What's it here?
I think
it's a Canon zoom lens, 18 to 55 millimeters. So the zoom lenses are the best. I'll get into the lenses very shortly, but that's the camera I'm planning on using, and it's going to be one of the zoom lenses. And at the moment, got an 18 to 55, and that's the one we're filming on as well. Another Canon 800D with that lens. And to get the best cinematic look for any type of thing, you need to set your frame rate to 24 or 25 frames per second. That's kind of the right frame rate really, and your shutter speed then has to be double whatever you set your frame rate. So 24 would be 1/48th, and if you're doing 25, 1/50th. This provides like the right motion blur to appear natural, and motion blur is like a streak-like effect when you're shooting, and it occurs with fast-moving objects or long exposure stuff like time-lapse. That's what motion blur is. And also another setting to be aware of is picture profile. This needs to be set to neutral. All the time, and this determines the parameters of an image's characteristics. So yeah, that's just a bit about some of the settings. It's all manual settings. We don't want to use anything autofocus. No, we need to do it all manual because you can't really just trust the camera, can you? You need to do it yourself.
Yeah, you got to trust your own brain and your own eyes.
Yeah.
Because a great example of this could be in F1. The cars are going so fast that cameras, if it's in autofocus, it'll be blurry, but if you had it in manual focus, it's a lot better because you're the one who's responsible for capture for the ISO, the aperture, etc.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'll be getting onto now. So exposure, stuff that affects this exposure is aperture, and these are known as f-stops. So widen your aperture, e.g. f5.6, this will give you a shallow depth of field, and a narrower aperture, f22, gives a deep, broad depth of field, and the F stands for focal ratio. That's what that means. So essentially, the larger the aperture number, the greater your depth of field. So that's about your aperture. Moving on to ISO. This is sensitivity to light, if you didn't know. And if you're shooting indoors, which we will be shooting indoors, you need to set it to 400 to 800. That's the ideal number for indoors. If you're shooting outdoors, which we won't be, but if you were 100 to 200, you need to set it lower. And if you have lower the ISO, the better your picture quality will be. And if you have a higher ISO, you're going to encounter more grain and digital noise.
And that's extremely bad if you are like working with a client, or if you're in the industry and you needed to get this specific shot and you've only got a day to do it, and then when you get home, you've got noise, and there's nothing they can really do about that. That was down to you on the shoe.
And yeah, so the three types of lenses that I'm going to go into is a prime lens, also known as a fixed lens, and they have a fixed focal length. A focal length is the measurement in millimeters from the optical center of the camera lens to the camera's sensor. Now, I think we have a fixed lens. It means you can only shoot from one length. For example, if you had a 35mm lens, it will only give you a 35mm perspective. The types you can get 10, 18, 24, 35, 50, 85. And they're really expensive as well. So
yeah, and normally they go for about £300 to £400 each, and that's costly.
Yeah. Moving on to telephoto lenses. Now, the speciality of these is photography of scenes and subjects at a distance. Some of them can zoom as well, so that's why they don't fall into the fixed category, so the fixed lenses. The types you can get are 70 to 300, 100 to 400, 300, 400 and 600. It's great for like wildlife, sports and stuff. Like if you had like football, there'd be like one camera on the pitch always, and it just captures everything from a distance. Like it's so far away, but it's capturing everything. Shoot in one stationary position so it doesn't move. It has a shallow depth of field, so this means greater blurring of the background. They tend to be heavy, so you need a tripod, obviously, something will be holding it. And then it's another lens that's really expensive, so lenses tend to be expensive.
And normally they go for about 800 to well over a grand.
Yeah. Moving on to the zoom lenses. Now, one of them that we've got here that we could also use as well as our what one was it? It was the 18 to 55mm zoom lens. This is 75 to 300, so a lot greater. You can zoom in on this one. The zoom lenses, I think, are the best. They allow you to stay in one place using multiple focal lengths. And a popular one, Canon 70 to 200, which I don't think we have, is somewhere in the college, I think. It can zoom as far out as 70mm and up to 200mm, that Canon 70 to 200mm one. So yeah, some of the types that you can get, 17 to 40mm, 24 to 105 and 70 to 200. They allow you to shoot from wide angle to telephoto. It's the best choice of lens, I think, for our promo video. There's loads of different zoom lenses, so it's going to be either 75 to 300 or the one that we have there, 18 to 55. I keep checking. Yeah, Canon zoom lens, 18 to 55. And Canon, it's got the best lenses, I think, best cameras, whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
And this is this isn't a industry standard camera. This is just the one that the college has. It's on the border of industry, but not quite industry. This one here, if I could pick it up, this one here is called a Black Magic. These are what the professionals use, like, say, for instance, Netflix, Amazon, Hobo, use this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can go.
The reason why that they use these ones is they capture a significantly more detail than this Canon, and it's partly due to the bit depth of the codec that camera uses. So this is a fairly easy camera to run on Premiere Pro, whereas something like a Sony R5 is horrendous at the codec. And if you have a beefy computer, it can still very, very slow to render or even playback.
Yeah, that's all about the cameras that we want to use and some that are available to us. A bit about the lighting. Now, lighting's very important when you're filming. So 3-point lighting is the most common setup, and it involves 3 lights set at different positions. So you'll have a key light, which is your main light, a backlight, which will be behind you, and a fill light, which will be somewhere to the side. It's the most common setup for when you film like an interview. Pretty much anything really, it's the best really.
Yeah.
You need to be using it.
And also with these you can get different filters and different gels. So say for instance like you wanted like a dark and dingy film for like a horror set or something. So you could like put like some like blue gel or some red gel to get the vibe of horror-esque.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, we're not actually using any specific lights. It's just the ones that are on the ceiling. So maybe the lighting's not good for this, but it's only a test shoot. For the actual promo video, we want the lighting to be spot on. Especially for a promo video, it's got to be spot on. And yeah, you have pretty much 3 of these set up. Key light, fill light, backlight.
And normally you have 2 in front of the subject and 1 like slightly off to the side, but at the back of the subject to get like a really good and a professional looking interview.
Yeah, that's about 3-point lighting. 2 types of light there is daylight, which is natural, and tungsten, which is artificial. And these have what are called colour temperatures. So daylight occupies the blue end of the spectrum, and tungsten occupies the yellow and red end of the spectrum. So put up a little picture of that spectrum, and yeah, you need to really light your actors appropriately. So if we have someone sat down when we're doing an interview for our promo video, we need to obviously light them properly, because if you can't light them properly, people won't see them, etc. And you need to make it to the genre you're making. So we're not really making a film, it's just a promo video. So there's not a specific genre really for that. So more about colour as well. Colour's really important as well, so mainly in post-production as well. Stuff like colour grading in post-production. We probably will be doing a bit of colour grading for our film, but it all depends on how our shoot actually goes and whether we need to do a lot of work on it. We don't really know about the colour grading as of yet. And that's all about the lighting, really.
Yeah.
So another thing, the final thing is sound.
Sound plays a very, very big part in film. It doesn't matter if you got a crap quality film, but if the sound is spot on, people might forgive you, and it all comes down to how and when you use the specific stuff. So this is a radio transmitter, and this works extremely nicely with what's called a lavalier mic.
Yeah, and you attached it to your actor,
to your subject, and make sure that you hide this from the camera, because you don't want any rustling or any other things that could interfere with the subject or even the cameras. It's that point. Another mic is called a I forgot what this is called.
The Rode shotgun.
Oh yeah.
It'll go on top.
Yeah.
So you'll place it on top of your camera, and it'll literally point it straight, and it would capture the sound directly in front of it. So it's directional mic.
So it goes on
it's really helpful because you don't need to actually hold anything. It just pops up on top of your camera. Boom. Yeah. Easy as that. You don't want to use any built-in microphones. That's the major thing. Because it's just they're awful. They're not. because cameras aren't made for sound; they're made for your image and not the sound. So you need to use external things. Another thing's a boom mic, which is the long pole. That's not the boom mic.
I know.
That's the shotgun mic. I think that's another one. The shotgun mic. So the boom pole is the really long pole that people have to hold up. It takes a good pair of arms to hold it, and we don't actually have it. We don't really need it for anything that we're doing. So yeah, that's one of the options that we could use if it came down to it, but I highly doubt we need it. So yeah, we talked about the shotgun mic, the radio mic, the lavalier or lapel mic as they call it, and whoever's doing the sound you need to always remember it, and
Always.
you need to wear headphones, not any AirPods or anything like that. Over here, headphones.
Yeah. As they give the most amount of like clear and concise audio form. Also, it's recommended to use a Zoom or anything that looks similar to this. This is what you use to plug your audio stuff in.
That's the Zoom H4n Pro. Yeah, Zoom H4n Pro that is. It's a nice bit of equipment. And you got attached to it right now is we're not going to be using this.
No.
I think we're going to be using the Rode mic, which goes on top of the mic. Probably. We'll see. But lapel mic. The only sound we need is the
it's the voice.
Yeah, the interview. So it's just a voice. So
we'll probably use the lavalier.
Yeah, so one of these, attach it to whoever's going to be speaking. Boom. That's all you need. Yeah, that's the sound. So I've talked about the headphones that you need. So you need to be listening at all times for any noise or distractions, cable rattling, wind.
Wind, cars as well.
We are inside, so highly unlikely that there's going to be any of that. So yeah, sound's really important. We've gone through everything. So just a rundown again. Going to be using the Canon 800D with a Canon zoom lens. 18 to 55. It will be a zoom lens. It might not be 18 to 55. It could be one of these ones, which is 75 to 300. We'll see what happens with that. For the lighting, 3-point lighting is going to be the best for anything. So this is one of the lighting that you can use for the 3-point lighting. And sound, the only sound we're going to be needing is the interview, which is mic, which we've mentioned. So that's all the equipment that's available to us and stuff that we're planning to use. And I hope this promo video goes well.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.